Did a Chinese lab map the coronavirus a full 2 weeks before it shared that news with the rest of the world? From the Wall Street Journal, new documents show a Chinese researcher uploaded a nearly complete sequence of the virus in December of 2019. Beijing did not share that information until January. Congressman Brad Wenstrup just spent 2 days behind closed doors with Dr. Fauci. He's chairman of the COVID Origins Subcommittee. Sir, thank you for your time. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
I want to go through what you learned from Dr. Fauci piece by piece. When he was asked about where the idea about 6 feet distance came from, what did he say?
He said it just sort of appeared, and then they went with it. So you can see that there's not a real good process. We asked the same question about masks. He said, well, there was really no scientific data, no study behind it. We just kind of put that out there. Look, Dr. Fauci was the face of the pandemic for America. 1.2 million Americans lost their lives. We're going through a process of what decisions they made and why they made their decisions. But you look into the origins of COVID, there were grants being distributed by NIH with taxpayer dollars to a company called EcoHealth Alliance to do research in China, gain-of-function research, and most people are familiar with that term. There's virtually no oversight over that. Dr. Fauci said, well, when they put in their request for a research grant, a board looks at it, and once they look at it, then I just sign off on it and I'm done. When they weren't doing the reporting back to NIH about what they were doing, there was no oversight coming in saying, we want your reports per se. Dr. Fauci said, well, that's not my lane. That's over in compliance. So the process is terrible when you take a look at this. And then we asked about oversight of foreign labs. Does NIH have any oversight over the biosecurity of a foreign lab? He said, I wouldn't even know how to do that. When everyone was saying what they're doing in China is a lab that wasn't safe. It should have been in a higher level. All the scientists have been saying that. So when you talk about a lab leak theory, now Dr. Fauci is saying that he doesn't think that's a conspiracy theory.
Wow, okay, that's a lot in one big answer. Let me just slow it down a little bit. When you asked him about wearing masks, what was his answer as to where that came from?
Well, where it came from is basically they thought that that would be a good idea. But remember, he said it won't make a difference. And then he started mandating it. And that's the problem. The mandates were a bad idea overall. But he admitted that there was no scientific data behind it. Look, Americans want to be educated. And that's not what was taking place there.
Doesn't seem like there was any data behind any of his answers. What did he tell you about closing schools and the impact that would have on kids?
Yeah, well, I can tell you that over 100 times, even on the first day, he said he didn't recall. He does recognize now that it was a terrible impact on kids, but he didn't address that. So he shouldn't have been the spokesperson on everything that was taking place. He seemed to say, well, that's in somebody else's lane, but then why was he the one out there talking about it? Look, the teachers union wanted 6 feet. In that regard, that means they don't have to teach because there's no way you can keep your kids 6 feet apart.
Is it true that he said, I don't remember 100 times?
Just on the very first day. He said it more times on the second day. The messaging has been terrible. We need a process where America can trust our public health officials and understand they're getting the true story. Look, I said early on, even under the Trump administration, America needed to hear from the doctors treating COVID patients, not the politician and not the person in the lab, but the ones that really have boots on the ground and are studying on all this.
Well, okay, just two more questions here for you, Congressman.
Yeah.
You heard us mention the Wall Street Journal report about the lab leak has not been dismissed, and I don't know if he addressed that or not, but he told you there is no oversight on foreign facilities. Now, this is American taxpayer dollars that some people believe were going to the Wuhan lab for this quote-unquote gain-of-function research. Did he cop to that, or did he sidestep it?
He sidestepped that because he was saying when he had the interaction with Senator Paul, he said we're not doing gain-of-function research in China. Now he's saying that, well, he has a different definition of gain-of-function research that means it definitely creates a pandemic. And no one else has that definition except now for he and Dr. Collins. And it wasn't until they were questioned on this and pushed on this that they changed the NIH website to change the definition of gain-of-function research. It sounds like a cover there.
You know,
because
you're
it didn't
a doctor.
happen till later.
You're a doctor, right? I mean, do you know how many things we made? We made decisions based on his expertise for the entire country, in some cases maybe for the entire world. When will we hear him in a public hearing be asked these same questions?
Well, we are having him coming in for a public hearing. The exact date is coming up later, I think in early spring.
So it'll happen, right? Is that what you're saying? You guarantee it'll happen?
Yeah. Well, he's agreed to it, yes. He agreed to that and the 2 days in the transcribed interviews. So that was all on board and locked down before we met with him the first time.
We shall be watching. Sir, thank you for your time. Brad Wenstrup, the congressman from Ohio. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.